right. Hey, welcome back, guys. All right, so let's go ahead and jump on in. Cancerians, it's really great to be back. I was down sick for a while. I'm delighted to be back. Now, let's get into, I'm going to check in on the topic of love. We start with the Ten of Cups. So we are starting out very loving, which is awesome. I don't know if this is a premonition of the upcoming future. We do have this couple, and they're standing, well, floating, I should say, underneath the rainbow here as well. So, with that rainbow's arc, um, that always makes me think of that song by the Voids. I love the Voids, but there's a song that they have called "Wink," and it's literally that phrase. The rainbow's arc is in that song. So and it could definitely be considered, a passionate song because something about I want to drag you down with my crocodile mouth. There seems to be passion involved in this. There's desire, perhaps, in this story. This could be the beginning of a love story, but we can already see how it's going to end. Hi, everyone. So glad to see you tonight. To have this Page of Pentacles, which is normally, page is just the very first message, the very first communication, the very first step toward a relationship, just beginning. And yet we started out with big intentions, although I would just say this is two people who already know. Maybe this is a love at first sight. Maybe they'll both admit to each other later on down the road, like, well, I knew when I first met you that you were the one. And they're like, well, I knew before you walked up to me as I watched you walk across the parking lot getting out of your car. So there. I knew even sooner than you did. I could just picture that being the story on this because this is a brand new beginning. This is two people that don't know each other well, according to this Page of Pentacles. Ooh, they are rocking each other's world. I don't even know if these two have met yet. This could be just what's on the horizon, but it's like, I knew before I ever talked to them, or I knew when we had one casual conversation that had nothing to do with love, romance. We weren't asking each other out, but it was the energy was already in the air. Like somehow this all clicked into place. Once in a while you have a day where everything goes wrong all on the same day. And then other times the reverse is true. You're in the right place at the right time. You have, some magical, mystical experience. And everything is like a 1 in a billion. One time I remember I had flown my mom out to see me, and she came in and there was this freak like monsoon. I mean, full blown like monsoon rain. And we had gone to dinner at this outdoor beautiful place, and everything about that day was so different because, normally I didn't have company, and normally we didn't go to this fancy restaurant, and normally we wouldn't have run into Shaquille O'Neal, but we did. And he was at that restaurant, and it was really exciting because my mom thinks Shaq is like her other son. She adores Shaq, and he was so nice to her. So anyway, sometimes just, and I mean, like, when in my life, I don't bump into famous people. That's not something that happens to me. Why did it happen then? Why does everything go right once in a while? It just, sometimes it just does. And it's a magical, mystical moment, right? So all I can say is that seems like, I'm only using that example because that's what this reminds me of. It doesn't make sense why everything falls into place. Now, I love the Tower. The Tower is always a good card to me. It's where walls crumble. There's no ego in the way. There's nothing blocking this incredible knowledge that I think this is the one for me, and I think this is going to fall into place. And for some reason, I'm in the right time at the right place to meet the right person. This is where I'm supposed to be in my life story right now. What I would really argue is maybe Cancerian has manifested this. Maybe they have written this story, this chapter in their heart, and now it's actually playing out in real time. Maybe they manifested this quietly, subconsciously, or like I say, internally, or maybe they literally journaled it, wrote it down. We all manifest in different ways. Sometimes it's just somewhere in our subconscious that we're imagining the way we'd like our life to go. Sometimes it's much more direct. Sometimes, very dedicated people sit down and write it out. However it was for Cancerian, there could be an element of journaling, or maybe Cancerian read a book or something and they were like, that feels like that's going to be my life. I feel like I'm reading this book right now because it's mirroring what I've had somewhere tucked inside my heart. And then sure enough, it comes to play in real time. This feels like, although it doesn't make a lick of sense why everything falls into place, it just does. So in the realm of love, I don't think we've ever seen a better story for Cancerian. We have the High Priestess. Definitely, this is more the subconscious energy flow. So even if Cancerian is somebody that, journals or something, I still feel like they didn't journal these deeper wishes, thoughts, dreams that are now coming to pass. I feel like that was still somewhere in their deep internal self. They've already known, Cancerian has known this is how their life was going to play out. They've known that they were going to fall in love with someone or know who their person was when they saw them. Let me ask this. Is this brand new, or is this like, are we picking the story up at a point where Cancerian has already met them and it's like, oh, this is them, and now I know everything else will fall into place? We have a Six of Swords. Right now it says Cancerian has just, let go of things of their past. They have, I feel like Cancerian had a great relationship with one person in their family, whether it was an, parental figure or a role model, an aunt or uncle. I think Cancerian has some really positive adult in their life that's what they chose to hang on to. Sometimes we aren't lucky enough to have our parents be our role models. Sometimes we have someone else. We have a favorite teacher who becomes more like our role model or our parent to us. But we make peace with the fact that, okay, sometimes maybe our parents weren't the ones who could like really help us to develop. But then we go, but thank God for whatever, Mr. Henry, Mr. Whatever, my music teacher from 5th grade, because honestly, they were more influential to me. And I'm going to say, that was a real gift and that helped direct me. And so I'm letting go of things from my past and I'm trusting that my life has been unfolding as it should, and that there are moments in life and people in my life that I'll cross paths with that will be greater assistance to me than others I would have guessed. Just feels like Cancerian has this huge sense of peace and acceptance because they've had some great relationship with somebody in their life. Again, it could have been like a coach, it could have been maybe a father figure, but they are aware that we get gifted certain people in our lives sometimes that can make a really positive impact. And Cancerian's like, look, I've had a mixed bag. Lots of my life hasn't been great, but for the times when I've met someone who's been very influential, they've really helped me steer my canoe in the right direction. We get the Four of Cups in the reverse. This is Cancerian. I don't think this Cancerian has had an easy life. I will say that. But I think that they're in this really positive mindset where they're like, I don't regret anything. You know why? Because I am who I am today. And I've learned to trust the flow of the universe. And I've learned to trust my instincts. And somehow I also realize that if I kind of already sense and know that there's something big on the horizon for me, or I know that my love story is going to go a certain way, this could be Cancerian saying deep down, I always knew that I probably wouldn't date somebody for, 5 or 6 years before deciding whether or not they were the right person. I've always known that the real one, I would just know them when I saw them. I've always known that. I could see this Cancerian making a bold statement like that, but for them, it's true. For them, for this character, it's true. This Cancerian's always been like, I know what I know. And it's because I learned to trust the universe a long time ago. There's lots of negatives in this life, but then there are these shining moments where you can see exactly what's meant to be yours. Maybe it's because there's a lot of things in this Cancerian's life that haven't been really good, that when they do see the thing that they're sure of, they don't even have to hesitate. They're like, no. Life can be gray. And then there's this bright spot. There's, blood red velvet curtains, and I'm holding on to that. There's a bunch of people you meet and nobody impacts you. And then you see that one person and you know that it's them. because they stand out to you in a way nobody else does. I just think that this Cancerian has this unique ability to spot exactly what's important. And when it comes in swiftly, this Cancerian doesn't even flinch. They're not like, oh my God, could I be falling in love this quickly? This Cancerian is just like, yep, there it is. Grab a hold of the good stuff when it goes by you, because lots of other things in life aren't good. And lots of years have really dull times or hard times. And when you see something amazing that comes flitting through your life, reach out and grab a hold of it, and don't even doubt yourself. Just go for it, because those are the sweet spots. Those are the beautiful things. This Cancerian is very, they're very bold. They're very confident. They really trust their instincts. I love the fact that they're calm, resilient, but bold. And just very sure of themselves. This is not a Cancerian that has any doubt about what they like or when they see what they want. Even though I think that there are huge swaths of time where there's nothing going on, and then all of a sudden Cancerian sees what they want and they grab a hold of it. I feel like Cancer's whole life could have been like that. They maybe work in a field, and then one day they quit and they get some other way better job, or they live in a little teeny tiny rundown place for a long time, and then one day they find the place that they really want to live, and then it all falls into place, and that's the place they buy, or that's the place they move into. And it's like, I think they go from like baseline to sudden huge steps up all of a sudden, but it's when it all clicks into place. We got a 2 of Wands. This Cancerian is very, very good at working with the flow of the universe. They know part of it is you make decisions, but you have to make the right decision at the right time. You have to make it when the time is right. You have to see where the opportunity is and then be unafraid to take it. So you got to know yourself really, really, really well. And Cancerian does. In this storyline, they know themselves very well. So who is this person, this love, this Four of Pentacles? They are somebody who perhaps has been, we'll say, caged before by not love, but coercion. They could have been married to the wrong person before. 7 of Pentacles. And they could have also been thinking about or watching Cancerian for a very long time. Cancerian might have also been aware of that person in the back of their mind. Like, someday when you're single and free, I already know that you're mine. The 2 of Cups. Okay, so definitely. I already know that you're mine. I've always known that you're mine, just like you know that I'm yours. But there needed to be some like rearrangement of energy. So I do feel like this person that is right for Cancerian, when Cancerian met this individual, they were still either in a divorce process, or they were married to the wrong person and had been for some time. And they obviously have had eyes for Cancerian for a long time. They've known from the gate that I'm supposed to be married to Cancer. So this has been, they've been in love with Cancer from the beginning. Yeah, passionate too about Cancer. That's an Ace of Wands. Meeting Cancer and knowing that Cancer is the one for them might have been the reason. Okay, so they did some pretty deep dive. They might have not talked to Cancer in quite a while. They might have been silent for a while because they needed to get like their own life sorted out first energetically, and then put things into play, so that when you go into hermit's mode, I always feel like this is the master planning phase. You pull back and you start to think about what you want, and you start to actually envision it, and then you step out and you put it all into order. And I feel like that's what they did. They could be a Virgo, possibly. Ace of Cups. Yeah, they needed to wrap their head around some pretty big life changes that they had to make. And they knew darn well the only choice that they had is, if they're in love with Cancer, then they have to honor that, which means they have to make the changes that they need to make in their life. Magician, and that's what they started doing. Definitely could be Virgo, but we also bring in some Gemini energy on this. They started looking at the future and knowing that their future has Cancer in it. This was a kind of an untraditional, non-traditional way for a relationship to begin, because they were somebody else's person. In this storyline, they were married to somebody else once upon a time. And this was not a complete like instant like, oh, but I love Cancer, so I'm dropping them like a hot potato, jumping in with Cancer. This is like they withdrew from Cancer for a period of time. They had to like really think about what my next steps are. They had to then put these next steps into play. They had to go ahead and possibly even fight for this, you know, with that Seven of Wands. It's overcoming struggles and obstacles. But man, they definitely had a plan in mind with the Sun card here. They decided that they knew exactly how their life was going to end up. It's like, I got to be in harmony with Cancer, which means I have to handle the things and organize the things in my life that need to be course corrected. I do feel like this person was with the wrong individual when Cancer met them. But I think that both Cancer and this person knew, but we're supposed to be together. Cancer wasn't the one that had the obstacles, it was them. So I think that's why we needed to just maybe why Cancer just needed to allow their trust in the universe and say, look, I already know that what's going to be mine, what's meant for me, of course it will work out, but I'm going to surrender this and just let it play out the way it needs to. Cancer did not, you know, start stressing over it. They didn't, which is very impressive also, that Cancer didn't pour their energy into this and start hyper focusing on this person or anything like that. It's like, I accept that I already know they're my person. They know that I'm their person, but the reality of how we end up together is actually beyond my control, but fully within their control. And I totally surrender this and say, it will work out how it's supposed to work out. This is not Cancer being apathetic about it at all. It's that they know better than to, you know, grab a hold and get frustrated and get upset. Cancer is just kind of like they learned how to trust the universe. And the effort that needed to be put in had to be put in by the other individual. They're the ones with the complication. They're the ones who have to uncomplicate their life, and they have to do it with clarity. So then they can come toward Cancer and they can offer Cancer the real offer that they want to make, which is the major arcana kind of offers, right? I want a future with Cancer. I want a happy future. They didn't try to like get with Cancer and start some, you know, passionate love affair. It doesn't look like. I mean, maybe they wish that they could have, but they didn't. They don't seem to have done that. They seem to have realized this is really, really important, and I need to handle this in a really, really important way. Although we do have them in a time of silence, that they had not been talking to Cancer, and that's because they had to go work on what they needed to put in order. So if I don't know where this storyline is in, you know, is it currently that Cancer is not talking to this person for valid reason because they're still in the midst of tidying things up in their own life, or is this the time for Cancer and this person to come back together, or is this the very beginning where Cancer and this person have just met each other and they're just like, I already know you're the one for me, but this isn't for me to, you know, manage and control. I trust that what's going to be mine will find its way into my life. I don't know. I'm not sure exactly where this storyline is in the lineup because we saw the whole play out. Oh, the Hermit. So they're in silent mode right now. Okay, so this storyline really is just saying that while there is silence between two people that clearly feel like they're meant to be together, it's like that silence is very valuable because there's nothing for Cancer to do. The person who needs to take the action, that rests on their shoulders. Cancer doesn't really have any deep thoughts. I think this whole storyline just says Cancer is right where they need to be as far as like letting things play out and trusting that what is in our greatest and highest good will end up being ours. If, say, for example, this person never did take the steps that they needed to course correct, to break it off with the wrong partner so they could pursue Cancer, then it probably would be that there's somebody else out there that Cancer is supposed to end up with. I don't know. I just love this whole story because it's like we can be at peace and trust that it will play out only for the greatest and the best course of action, whatever that is supposed to be. In this storyline, it looks like these two can have great happiness together, though. All right, you guys, I'm going to leave this one here. Thank you so much for being here. Danny D369, thank you for being here, love. Hi, Ian Bell. Kim Pruitt, great to see you. Christina 111. Oh, that's awesome. Hi, JJ. I know. I think that's always the concern, right? Anybody that journals is like, I don't want somebody reading this later. I totally understand. Kibby Shaw, Lulu, Delinda, great to see you. Tiny Tina Babina, Nikki O, and Indigo Moon X. Wonderful to see you guys tonight. All right, everybody. Sweet dreams. I'm going to bounce over to the other channel now. I may see some of you there if you're up late tonight, but we shall see. All right, you guys, take care. Bye for right now.